We do get to travel as comics, and that's my favorite part. This summer, I was down south. Atlanta, Georgia, and there was a group of guys out in a field. They were dressed up in Civil War outfits. They had weird hats, muskets, and they were reenacting battles from the Civil War. I saw that. I just wanted to run out and be like, wait! I'm from the future! I know how this shit ends. Follow me, there's air conditioning this way. But sometimes I like to go places, I like to see things in culture and steal it for myself. Like I was in Spain. Do you guys know Spain has a thing called a siesta? We need that here. Siestas are unbelievable. Every day at noon, you go home from work. Take a nap. Drink a bottle of wine. 4 hours later, if you feel like it, you go back to work. My whole life, I was called lazy. Here, I was just Spanish. I love my neighborhood. I live in a great neighborhood, and summer's winding down, so I'm going to miss my favorite activity in summer, and that is going to the park and watching junkies eat ice cream cones. They're so adorable. They usually steal them from the Mr. Softy truck, and they wander in the park. They're like, and they come to, and they realize they have ice cream. You literally watch somebody celebrate Christmas 5 times in a row. Not gain a calorie. That's why they're so skinny. They never finish their food. Yeah, I know. My wife told me not to tell that joke. She goes, you shouldn't make fun of addiction. It's an illness. And I was like, so's being fat, you know? She goes, watch this video, see if you still feel that way. She played a video on YouTube for me called Faces of Meth. Have you guys seen this video? Oh my God. They take arrest photos of meth addicts over like the period of 5 years. You see a normal human being slowly shrivel into a skeleton. I watched the video, my first thought was, maybe a little meth. They look good on day 3.
Hey, it's A Drink with Derek. Thanks for joining me here in Las Vegas. All of the episodes of A Drink with Derek can be found on YouTube. Also, audio podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. There's over 50 episodes up there right now, so definitely go ahead and check those out. And a huge thanks to my buddy Ross Dillon, who handles all the technical stuff. Does a great social media job, and I can't thank him enough for making all this happen because I do not have the bandwidth in my head to deal with any of that nonsense. I have all the respect in the world for people that know how to handle that. I really do. So, Ross, thank you so much. And thank you to my guest today, who is in Philadelphia. I'm here in Las Vegas. Mark Riccadonna, who is a comedian from Youngstown, Ohio, originally, now living in Philly. He's been on Fox's Laughs, also heard on Sirius XM, Access TV's Live at Gotham, a writer for Saturday Night Live's Weekend Update, a columnist and travel writer for Today's Man magazine. And you wrote and directed, hands down, one of the coolest shows that I had seen in a long time called Radio Gods.
Oh, man, thank you.
And I'm serious about that. And you and I had a chance, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But first off, great to see you. Glad to have you here on the podcast. Always great to hang. Oh, and you actually have a legit cocktail. It's
little Kolsch beer, baby.
Woo! You're my hero. I'm sitting here sipping a little Irish coffee out of a Stone Pony coffee mug here.
There you go.
So, I know.
It's 2:00 here, so the kids are out of school, so I'm officially off duty. I can get as drunk as I want now.
Like that was going to stop you anyway?
Well, I don't have to drive him to school, so that's good.
How bad would that be, getting a DUI driving your kid to school?
I bet it's happened.
I'm sure it's happened, especially during the pandemic. But dude, so good to see you. MarkRiccadonna.com is his website. RICCADONNA.com. And comedian, writer, dude, you and I worked together first time Mohegan Sun Casino in the Poconos.
The funniest thing is how we met. We were in line, and you were wearing a I keep wanting to call them Metal Shop because that's their old name. Steel Panther shirt.
Yes.
You had a Steel Panther shirt. And I started talking to you in line. And then later that night, we're in the green room, and I go, there was some dude in a Steel Panther shirt here. And you're like, that was me, you dumbass. And I'm like, I don't. You had a hat on.
That just shows you all you need to do to disguise yourself is throw on a stupid baseball cap.
I believe the Clark Kent Superman shit. Like, nobody notices it's Superman. Yeah, he has glasses on there.
Yeah, no, nobody's paying any attention. That's whenever they show like sketches. Like my girlfriend and I watch the shows on ID, and they do an artist sketch of who the suspect is, and it always makes me laugh. I'm like, and they're like, all of a sudden there's a ton of phone calls that come in, and they go, "Oh, I know who that is." I'm like, it looks like a stick man. It could be anybody. How do you figure out who this guy is?
Well, that just goes to show you that pot screws your memory up, man. Because I'm sitting there talking to you. I'm like, there's some dude in line with a Steel Panther shirt. You're like, that was me, you idiot. I'm like, oh, yeah. I was testing you.
we had so much fun working together, and I mean, instantly bonded. We went out and had a couple cocktails that night, hung out there at the casino, and I think we ended up being completely drunk and belligerent at like 3 o'clock in the morning at was it like Johnny Rockets or something like that?
Yeah.
Shoving a double cheeseburger in our pie hole right before you go to sleep, because that's good for the body.
Well, that's how I stay so trim.
I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. We're on the same we got the same health coach.
Dude, this pandemic's been rough on that stuff because it's been nonstop. I have a joke in my act. It's, people will say that this is like being locked down or whatever. To me, this is just the longest Thanksgiving ever. All I'm doing is eating, drinking, and sleeping in front of the TV. Like, it's Thanksgiving weekend at my mom and dad's. That's all this is.
It just keeps going.
Yeah, and during the summer, nobody knew anything. Like, everybody was so nervous, they didn't even know how people were catching it. So, like, people are like, go out for walks. I'm like, no, it could be out on the sidewalk. Like, I don't know how this works. And now they're like, no, you have to kind of come in contact with the person, and so now it's like, now I feel safe to go out and walk, but it's cold. I'm not going out and walking.
You're just looking for a reason to stay inside to keep eating and drinking.
That's true. I mean, you got a point.
Listen, everyone's got their own motivation. I question nothing. Dude, you are from Youngstown, Ohio. You've been in Philadelphia a little bit. You spent some time in New York City as well. You've also had done some acting and so forth. I'm not going to go into the acting thing because I know we were just talking about that before we started recording. We joke around to the listener and the viewer. You have your bio that is on your website, and it tells a lot about you. And so what happens is whenever we get a chance to do interviews, when we're on the road promoting comedy shows, you end up on like a, Good Morning Shitbag Ohio show, whatever it is. And it's a little small town morning TV type thing, or radio thing for that matter. And they pull up your bio on your website, and they don't ask you anything ahead of time. So they literally just start asking you questions from your bio. And so you were telling me you did a TV thing one time, and some guy saw that you were an actor and wanted to go.
He was quizzing me on Shakespeare monologues. I was like, dude, do I look like I do Shakespeare regularly? I don't even think I look like I read modern scripts, you know.
I could just see how it kills me because you joke around about, morning TV hosts, and some are good.
Yeah.
And even morning radio hosts. I mean, some are good, but the industry is what it is. I mean, they're paying these guys $6 an hour. So what do you think?
Sometimes they have it out for you as the comic. They're like, I'm the funny guy. And they want to play toppers with you. And it's like, dude, I'm not trying to mess with your gig. Like, you can be the funniest guy at 6 a.m. That's fine by me.
Yeah, I'm just here for 10 minutes to promote my show tonight. And if you can help me out with that, fantastic. If you can't, I will make my way out the door. But yeah, the last thing you want somebody to do is, ask you to start doing lines from 12th Night from Shakespeare. You go, oh, well, we should go see Mark Riccadonna. His intelligent brand of humor is clearly what this town has been missing.
I doth come seeth thy.
Well, you come out here to Vegas before we talk any further. You like to gamble from time to time.
Kind of. I'll be honest. I'm not a good gambler. I don't know how to play most of the stuff that's in a casino. Like, I honestly don't even know how to play poker.
Really?
I don't. Yeah, and why this is a thing is I started comedy at such a young age, and I started going and working at casinos, and I was very fortunate. I had a lot of really awesome people take me under their wing very early in my career, and I would go to the casinos and do gigs, and I'd watch these guys leave owing money. And I was too young. I was too young to even be drinking, and I was legal to gamble, but I would just sit there and watch these people throw all of their money away. And I was so poor, as a 20-year-old comedian, I was like, I can't risk any of this money. And so I just never found the bug for it. And like last night, I was podcasting with these guys who were playing video poker and online poker, not video poker, online poker and gambling on football and stuff. And we were podcasting till like 3 a.m. and I'm just watching them throw money, just throwing money. And I'm like, oh my God, that could be a car payment.
Oh yeah. We'll play a real easy game for you here. I'm in Vegas. You're in. So it's gonna be high card, super easy. Okay. So I shuffled this deck. By the way, this is the decks of cards that I get here in Vegas. The ones that you can get at the gift shop for like $1. When they cut the corners, it's the ones they use on the table, and then they mark it on the side. So, all right. So here we go. This is This is your card. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And I'm the house. So I'll just randomly pick a card here. And, this is my card. So you won. See? Look at that.
I'm addicted. We need to keep going.
Gambling's not that hard. Okay, one more real quick. This is your card. See? That's what happens. That's what happens with addiction. And then, look at that. You won 2 in a row.
Oh, who's better than me right now?
That's it.
I'm
quit.
joining the World Series of World Series of poker.
World Series of high card.
Yeah. I'll be killing it.
Dude, you started off at 17 years old and doing an independent. Well, you started doing comedy at 17, didn't you?
No, I didn't start stand up then. I was in Youngstown. I graduated high school and left, and I went to a theater school in New York City. And I got out of school, and I was waiting tables at a comedy club. So I was like 19 when I started doing stand up. And I started working. I was a door guy, and then would find a little stage time here and there. And the comedy world, as they would fire people who are incompetent, I would get a promotion. So, within a year, I was booking and running the club. It wasn't a year, but it was, pretty quickly. And I was running a club, and then it hit a point where I started making money as a comedian. And I realized there was a little bit of a problem, conflict of interest of running a club and wanting to work at clubs. And my goddamn Midwestern values, instead of taking advantage of it, which I probably should have, I can do one or the other. If I do both, it's a little bit of a conflict. So I pursued stand-up full time. And I started
Well, what club were you working at?
Stand Up New York.
Okay. So you were doing that. And so that's got to be the worst situation, because when you are a comedian and you book stuff, I mean, we have great friends in this business that are very, very funny. We also have great friends in this business who suck. And so that's the worst situation in the world.
Yeah.
And it goes with anything. I mean, it doesn't matter what business you're in. I mean, it doesn't matter if you paint houses. You can have a great friend who sucks at painting houses.
Yeah.
And if he's looking for a job and he's like, hey, can I help you paint houses? You're like, no, you really can't. I'm not going to bring you in. How did you navigate those waters when you started doing stand-up and you were also running the room and you had friends that are going, hey, Mark, I want to get a spot. I want to do this. I want to do that.
Well, you never know who was your real friend. You never would know, like, is this guy actually a friend, and does he really care, and does he think I'm good, or is he just saying this because he's angling for stage time? And the one thing I had in my advantage and disadvantage at times was the owner of the club also managed comics, and he would micromanage when he was around, but when he wasn't, I had the freedom of doing what I wanted. And what was interesting is nobody knew when he was around or not. So if I had to, so Derek, if you were hitting me up for work, and not you, I'm just saying, if let's say Derek was not a good comic and Derek was hitting me up for work, even if I knew I could put him on the show, I could easily go, I'd have to run it by Kerry. I have no idea if he'll let me. And so I got out of it because he would oversee everything that would happen. But when he wasn't around, I kind of got to do what I wanted. And I made some really great decisions and booked a lot of people that maybe at the time I knew they were going to be great. And I did a lot of like really bookings that I was proud of comics who like became really great, and I kind of gave them their shot. But there was also a few times I can name several comics. They came in and I'm like, this guy doesn't have a shot. And next thing you know, they're the biggest thing in comedy. And that's happened to me 3 times I can think off the top of my head.
So who did you bring in that you saw had potential and ended up exploding?
I don't know if you know Mike Yard.
That name
Mike,
rings a bell.
he's like a New York staple. That dude is like, he's so good. He was the first person I passed for weekends. And then there was another guy, Pete Dominic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was somebody who was just begging for guest spots, and I would constantly give him hosting jobs. And he ended up, I mean, he has a great career. He had a whole channel on Sirius XM. And,
funny dude, big Trump supporter, if I'm not mistaken.
it's as conservative as they get. But I have a couple
people watching and listening. That is as far from Pete Dominic as you can even begin to imagine.
Yeah.
Even Nancy Pelosi looks at him and goes, Jesus, that guy's left.
Calm down, Pete.
No, funny dude. So Pete Dominic and then Mike Yard. And then was there anybody else that you can think of off the top of your head that you saw potential in that ended up exploding?
Not off. I dubbed David off with somebody who I just thought was, this guy is amazing. And he was just doing guest spots. And next thing you know, I mean, he's crushing. He's on the road just crushing.
Now, who did you misjudge?
Aziz Ansari.
Whew.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this poor guy. I can't believe he's trying this. And now he's like one of the biggest comics on the planet. He can, that guy can pretty much buy and sell any club I'm going to play and make sure I don't work. And then I also didn't believe in Amy Schumer too hard. And
wow, I can't believe you won the high card game that we just played.
I know. Don't ever, if I ever am gambling, don't go with me. I'm an idiot.
Well, no. Well, here's the thing, because you never know when someone is going to.
In my defense, they were also it was before they blew up. You know what I mean? They weren't who they are now then.
And you don't know when somebody's going to turn the corner, because I've worked with guys through the years and they were not strong acts. And all of a sudden they somehow, whether they took a course or whether they read a book or they somehow just started really
just inspired to write.
Exactly. Just became more dialed into who they are. And they turned the corner and became fantastic the next time I saw them. So that can happen with anybody. It's like if you're a guitar player, you see somebody, you know, the first time Buddy Guy picked up the guitar when he was 5 years old or whatever, you know, he wasn't, you know, ripping through.
Yeah.
Wasn't blazing through these chords. So
yeah, I mean,
Buddy Guy probably was. That's probably a bad example. But I mean, anybody who's going to start out of the gate is not going to have the chops. It's just the way it is. And then, you know, once you get on stage more and more and you're doing the more writing, then you can go ahead and find your voice.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's like a thunderstorm.
Well, it could be your kids. You've got two sons. You got two sons.
Two boys. They're nuts. Oh, they're so much fun. I just posted a picture today of them 3 years ago and them today, and it's like I don't even remember them growing. Like they've just, I guess, you know, because you see them every day, you don't see the growth. But then I saw this picture and I was just like, holy shit, who are these kids and who are these kids?
Well, you do so much writing, and I was going to ask that because you've got a couple kids. How do you find the time to find that focus to write? Because I mean, I have zero attention span. I can sit down and I'm like, all right, I'm going to start writing, and a dog barks 3 doors down, and I'm like, I'm going to kill him.
How am I supposed to write with this shit going on?
What kind of conditions are these?
Well, and so I was the guy who, before kids, before marriage, that it was like, seriously, I treated it like homework. Like I have to write 10 pages today, or I can't go out, or I can't do this, or I can't. And I used to do that, but now it's like, yeah, you can't condition yourself to a time limit because, you know, I mean, it's here in Philly, it's 2:30. I've been up since probably, 7, and I have not had a moment to myself. I mean, even going to the bathroom, if I shut the door and they hear it lock, all of a sudden they're there jiggling the handle. What are you doing? What are you doing? And, you pretty much have to let the day go how it's going to go, do your best. And if I have a gig or whatever, I'll like have a time that I have to leave, and that's it. But the hardest thing is for the writing, I have to come home or be home and put them to bed and somehow muster up the energy to write after they go to bed instead of going, let's watch TV. It's like, all right, I got to go write now. And there's times when I get on fire and I feel good. And next thing I know, I look up, it's 5 a.m. The kids are going to be up in an hour. And, it takes a toll on them because then I'm grouchy and I'm in a bad mood because I'm not sleeping. I'm not getting work done. And, unfortunately, nobody lashes in.
Well, the cool thing is, I mean, you're very disciplined, and a lot of guys don't have that level of discipline. And I mean, you have to have that. And you've done a lot of screenplays, a lot of script writing. In fact, the one thing I want to talk about here too is when you and I had met at that gig in the Poconos at Mohegan Sun. Yeah, we ended up going back. We were in your room, and we each had a glass of whiskey, and you're like, "Hey, I want to show you something." And so, out of the gate, when somebody says that to you, and you and I hadn't really established a relationship. I mean, we literally met that night and we were hanging out, having a blast. All of a sudden, it's like, I think 1:00 in the morning. Yeah. And you're like, "Hey, I want to show you something." And in the back of my head, I'm going, shit, this is some home video of his kid's birthday party.
I thought you were going to think I was Harvey Weinstein. Oh, I got to show you something.
Hang on, here we go. Oh, boy. Now, if it means more work, let's do this.
How bad do you want some stage time?
You do a great old creepy Jewish voice. Well, I think anybody listening or watching this thing who's looking for somebody to be a creepy old Jewish producer should perhaps look at you.
I can play the part.
You can nail it. But you showed me the pilot that you did for this show called Radio Gods. And I was even hammered. I was blown away.
Oh, thank you, man.
And I mean, I thought it was so well done. And explain to the people what this is about.
Okay, so how we were just talking about morning radio and TV people, it's a whole world that I think the average person gets. I think they understand it, but the minutia of it, I think comedians really get that it's a whole different world. And so what it is these guys have been doing morning radio shock jock stuff for since the late 70s. And they've never had to grow up. They've never had to have responsibility. They've never done. All they know is shock jock radio and what gets ratings and how to prank people and how to do whatever. And now we live in a woke society that don't want to hear that shit. So they finally lose their job and they have to go out in the real world and deal with reality. And, they've never had to deal with reality. It's like a comedian. Like, Derek, what's the last real job you've had?
It's been a while. I mean, I was waiting tables. I was in radio before doing this. And then I was waiting tables before I, officially moved over into
entertainment.
But yeah, that's been, that was a while ago. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've had to.
If you go back to the workforce, you're going to be like, what the hell is going on? I mean, my last job that doesn't include, working at a comedy club or being a comedian, like it was like lemonade stand, it's like, I don't know shit, but like these guys, all they know, and they live on top of the world, is shocking people. So now they're dealing with a woke society. So the show, the premise is them trying to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their lives, because radio's a dying thing. So it's not like, well, we lost our job, let's find another station. So they have to go find jobs. So they end up working with one of their affiliates, one of their advertisers, and they try to talk them into podcasting, which they have no idea what podcasting is because they've been doing morning radio since the 70s. So it was a lot of fun, and I really saw potential of it going somewhere. But unfortunately, I do think the TV show Brockmire had a lot to do with us not getting some meetings, because it came out right around the same time that Brockmire came out. And that is also dealing with it. But instead of shock jock radio, he was a sports announcer who went through something really shocking. So I think like me versus Hank Azaria is going to win.
Well, you had a great cast in this thing. You had Paul Provenza.
Yeah.
Was your lead, along with, was it Rick Overton?
Yeah. Overton and Provenza were the two main characters. And what was so cool is Overton played the sidekick on the radio show. He was the color man, but they were both equal leads as far as in the TV show. But I had this sympathy for Rick's character of just the guy who is painfully willing and untalented, and to have such a talented person play that character and nail it was like the greatest thing ever, because Overton can do really great impressions and characters and improvise, and he's playing somebody who cannot improvise, cannot do voices, cannot do characters. And it was just so awesome to watch him work. I seriously learned so much about acting just watching Rick Overton during this.
And Paul Provenza did a brilliant job.
Oh, he was great. He was the edgy, the almost. I love these people. The idiot who thinks they're smarter than everyone in the room, and then they just get shocking. They just. You just don't like what I say because it's the truth. And you're like, no, it's just stupid. But there's a little bit of me in both of those characters. When Vinny and I were writing it, I honest to God, I have a charmed career. I can't believe that I've made a living doing this. I've never had a real job. And between acting and comedy, nobody knows who I am. I have zero like fame or any of that kind of stuff, but I work nonstop. And it's just because I'm willing to put the work in, not because of talent. I know I'm not this amazing comic that when you see Mark Riccadonna's show, you are going to go home and it is going to stay in your head. No, you're going to go, you're going to laugh for an hour. You're going to have a great time and you're going to go home with a positive attitude of like, I would go back to that comedy club. That was fun. You won't even remember my name the next morning. But I'm willing to put as much work as I can to get that job and then to come back. And I think those guys in that TV pilot are the same thing. They're not really talented. They're not really good at what they do, but they'll put the work in. And it's
Well, you're first off, you're very humble.
thanks, but
I mean, like I said, I thought you were hilarious. Anybody who comes out and sees your show will think that. I mean, I think it's a well-crafted act. I think it's and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. It's the truth. I mean, if I don't,
thank you.
I can't hang out with people that aren't funny. From a comedic perspective, I simply cannot. I can't fake that.
Yeah,
and there's plenty of guys that I've worked with where. There's a great phrase that I saw. It says, I don't have the energy to hate. I either like you or I don't care.
I love that.
And I think that phrase is brilliant. I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and devote energy to not liking you. If I don't care for your act, if I think you're, or I think you're a douchebag, I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? I mean, I'll be cordial enough. I could have lunch with Bin Laden if I had to, but I can be cordial for an hour and get through something. I mean, I have enough, sense and professional demeanor about me to do that. But no, you are very, very fun.
And I want to say thank you. And thank you. And I don't think I'm not funny or anything like that. It's just, I know I have to put so much work in to be at a level that there are some people that don't have to put any work in. There are guys, we were talking about this last night you take Tracy Morgan and you give him instructions to an IKEA furniture and he'll do an hour and you'll be crying laughing. I have to go home and put 10 hours of work in trying to craft jokes to do an IKEA instruction joke. You know what I mean? It's I know I have to put the work in. I'm not one of these guys who can just walk in and just boom, boom, boom. And I'm willing to put the work in because I love this business.
Well, you put a ton of work in. You put a ton of work into Radio Gods. You had some brilliant cameos in there. It was one comedian after another. I respect that. I love the comics that get a TV show or a movie and they put a bunch of their friends in it.
It's why I do love Amy Schumer. And, I passed on her one time. I was at Stand Up New York, but when she made it, I feel like she did the right thing. She took care of the people she came up with. That's so cool. You look at guys like even Judd Apatow. They put in comedians that they looked up to. And the fact that he did the Gary Shandling documentary speaks volumes of the respect he has for people in this business.
Well, in your Radio Gods show that you did, I mean, is that still kind of in a holding pattern? I know we're talking about this so much, and I know there's people now that are going, okay, where can I find this thing? Has it gotten to the point where people can click on it on a link, or is it in a holding pattern where you're not putting it out there for public consumption yet?
It will be. It will be. We were hoping to do the Montreal Comedy Festival short films, and then COVID hit. So it was, we're like, do we wait and see if next year we can put it in? Because, it didn't happen. I mean, they did an online version, but it was more like just talks. It wasn't, whatever. And So we're kind of in this limbo of like, I don't know, maybe we should just put it out there. And I'm not really sure what to do. Like I was talking to the producers and, we're all on the fence because we want it to get out there. I want people to watch it. It's like we didn't just make this to have this cool thing that only a couple people get to see. We want everyone to see it.
Well, is this something you could put on Amazon?
Yeah. I mean, that I could definitely do tomorrow. I could have it up on Amazon.
I'm sure you've thought of that, but I mean, that seems like it would be a great format. And you have so many people that have Prime.
Yeah.
Chance to watch that. But like I said, I know it's got to be insanely frustrating to put out something that is such a good product. That show is anytime your name comes up amongst comedians, I always end up mentioning, I go, did you see Radio?
Dude, and the other thing about it is like everybody who sees it loves it. And as the writer and director, I get a lot of props, but I don't. Directing, Rick Overton, Rich Voss, Tom Cotter, these were all guys who read the script and then said, hey, do you mind if I riff? And I said, yeah, go ahead. Just let's do one as the script and then go ahead and riff. And they did such amazing stuff that now everybody's going, you're such a good writer. And I was like, well, I'll take the credit, but Jesus, it was the actors that, it was these comedians coming up with these killer lines. Like Rich Voss's scene with Provenza, they're at a bar and Voss is a bartender. And basically we did it how I wrote it. And then I just told Rich, I go, look, in your mind, it's 2 a.m. You served your last drink and you want this bastard out of your bar, but you can't physically grab him and toss him out. So verbally assault him. That's all I had to say. And pretty much everything he came up with is in the scene. I think one of my lines made it.
You picked the right guy you told Secretariat here, and then you just took the reins off and said, run.
Exactly. And then everybody goes, wow, it's such great writing. You and Vinny are great writers. And it was like, it's more the casting.
Well, I look forward to when this comes out for public consumption, because I will definitely forward it to everybody that I know and share it on all the social media platforms, because it's an absolutely brilliant show. Well, and you're involved now. You do a podcast right now with a comedian, Richie Byrne, called Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. 3 things I love.
And you need to be on it.
Congratulations on the podcast. Dr. Oz was one of your guests.
Yeah, he was great. He told a dirty joke and he admitted to alcohol. He admitted to drinking alcohol because Richie's like, I don't know if he's probably going to say like kale smoothie when we ask what he likes to drink. And he likes tequila, frozen tequila. He said if you put it in the freezer, it thickens and it gets real syrupy, and that's when it's best.
Oh my God.
And I did it, and it was pretty good. I mean,
I wouldn't expect a drink recipe, alcoholic drink recipe to come out of Dr. Oz. But Richie Byrne, your co-host on this thing, does audience warm-up, or did audience warm-up for Dr. Oz's show.
Yeah. So there was a couple times we got to go and hang out. And one time he made, this is so embarrassing, but fuck it, right? That's what's the funniest shit. You don't want to hear about when someone killed. Dr. Oz called me out. He goes, hey, in the audience, it was in the middle of he finished a bit and they were setting up for the next thing. And I wrote a joke for Rocco DeSpirito, the chef. And I wrote a joke with Richie with him. And they were setting up to do that bit. And Dr. Oz goes, hey, our warm-up guy, Richie, who everybody loves Richie. He's so good at his job. His co-host of his podcast is here. He's a comedian up in the stands. And Mark, stand up. And so I stand up and everybody claps for me or whatever. And he goes, give us a joke. And I panicked and I told the filthiest joke I have in my act in front of Dr. Oz's audience. And he just looks like,
Oh God.
Richie, you want to take over from here? And he just walked away, and I just then I had to sit the rest of the show in shame in the middle of the audience. Just
That's funny. Oh my God. Yeah, when somebody pulls that, hey, tell me a joke. That's why, like, after a show, when somebody comes up, and I used to do this thing where if somebody came up after a show and they said, hey, I want to tell you a joke. And I'm like, okay, you can tell me a joke, but you tell me your joke, and then you got to listen to 3 of my jokes, and they are not clean. And so I had 3 jokes that I would tell these people, and you'd find like some nice couple from Missouri that comes up after a show, and it's Stanley Barbara, and he tells you something that he heard at the barber shop the other day.
Yeah. And then the guy swung the golf club.
Uh-huh. And then I come back and I go, okay, this guy pulls up to a playground. He's got a bunch of candy in the passenger seat. He looks at this kid. He goes, hey, kid, come over here. Kid goes over, looks in the car, and the guy says, he goes, hey, hop in the car for a piece of candy. And the kid looks inside and he goes, I'll tell you what, for the whole bag, I'll let you come on my face.
Oh my God. Oh, I don't know what's better, imagining the reaction or the joke.
The funniest. Yeah. And then they start trying to walk away. And I'm like, no, there's 2 more. Remember
that was my opener.
Remember how this works? And so I would tell 2 more that were just completely off the chart. And I can't even remember what they were, but I remember working with a guy one time, and he looks at me and he goes, you just said that joke to those people. And I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, you know what I did? I just saved other comedians from that couple, because now he's going to want to tell a joke to Mark Riccadonna when he comes to town, and he's going to think twice, thinking that we're all programmed like that.
So the whole purpose of the name of Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling is I am one of the very rare who enjoy hearing a good joke. I love hearing someone tell a street joke. It's painful when it's bad, but like, to me, I think Paul Provenza said it. It's like jazz. You know the joke, but now hearing Gilbert Gottfried tell it, hearing Derek Richards tell it, or hearing Bob Jones, who was at your show, tell it, you get 3 different takes on the same notes. And I enjoy it. And I really do enjoy it. My only drawback is, now it's kind of become funny, is when somebody tells me a horribly racist joke. And I always turn and just go, my wife's black, right? And watching them go, I was just joking. And my wife's not. She's Italian, but they don't know.
They have no idea.
Yeah. And I like making people feel guilty for what they just did.
Well, I love when somebody comes up and tells you an insanely racist joke, and they go, hey, you can use that in your act.
Sure.
Can I? Really? Hang on. Let me check my calendar to see when my next gig at the Klan rally is in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. No, that's never going to be on stage ever.
Yeah, because, telling racist jokes really worked out for Gilbert Gottfried and Shane Gillis, right? There's nothing better than being completely canceled because you told a street joke that's racist.
Well, and what do you think about that? I mean, as a comedian and the cancel culture that's out there right now, I mean, I can't. The fact that Shane, is it Gillis or McGillis? I keep screwing that up. Shane Gillis, who was supposed to be on Saturday Night Live. They went back and dug through and they found some podcast where he was doing, I think it was an impression of
Well, here's what we talked about this last night. It's so funny that we're talking about this now. The thing is he got wrongfully. It's like those like videos where they edit it how they wanted it to look, because he was doing an impression of an idiot racist guy, what he would say.
Right.
So what he was actually saying is making fun of a racist.
Right.
So I feel really bad for him that happened. I feel like that was a shit deal for him. But we were talking about this, and I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to this, so I'm not claiming to like lead you into what I want. But do you crucify the artist and the person, or do you still appreciate the art and then just not care for the person? Like on a very different thing, but same. They're finding all this stuff about Picasso that he was a shitbag. So do we take his paintings down?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Like John Lennon is the guy who wrote all these songs about love, but he had a kid he didn't talk to. Do we stop listening to Beatles music? Now you get into the more serious stuff like a Michael Jackson or a Bill Cosby. Do we erase history and say like, the Cosby Show employed how many people for how many years, and it was a hit TV show, but he was a shitty person, so everybody else's work gets flushed down the toilet because of the one shitbag. I don't know the right answer.
Right.
I do have, something like the Civil War and the taking down of statues. I do think that the statues are a completely different thing. Those are traitors. It's not because of the racism. It's because they're traitors to our country.
Yeah, you don't see that anywhere else in the world. You don't see anybody that turns their back on their country.
Who would go?
Yeah,
we really need a Benedict Arnold statue on the Hudson River. Like the generals of the Confederacy, they were traitors to the United States. So yeah, their statue should come down. Thomas Jefferson was a horrible racist. Should he be off the nickel? I don't know. He was still a forefather. Like he was still part of the. It was a different time back then, but I don't know. I don't claim to know the answer.
Well, who are you going to put on the nickel?
I don't. Well, we have a bunch of other presidents we can pick.
Who looks like? Well, who's going to look close enough to Thomas Jefferson where you can put him on the nickel? I got to find. I'd find a nickel, but remember, there's a change shortage. Remember, how the fuck did that happen?
Nobody's digging in the couch cushions because they're home all day.
All of us, yeah, exactly. All the COVID apparently taxed coins. I didn't know that. That's why there's a shortage. We're in a coin shortage here. You mind if we just don't give you all your money back? Yeah, you should certainly do that. In a time when people are losing their jobs, you should absolutely find ways to keep money back from them when you're at the grocery store.
Yeah, well, the irony, I need every nickel I can get right now because my government checks aren't helping me survive
I need
comfortably.
my nickel with my racist Thomas Jefferson on it.
I'll spend the racist money. I'm telling you, I will spend it. I apologize as I'm spending it, but I gotta spend that racist money, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here, the thing is, and you brought up a good point about separating the art from the person. And I can appreciate somebody what they do on stage, whether it's a musician, whether it's someone who's painting something, someone who's a comedian. I mean, I can still respect Bill Cosby's comedy. I don't have to respect him as a person. I can draw that line in between people. And so, I mean, I can do that, but I know a lot of society just can't.
Yeah. That's, to me, the issue is like, yeah, Bill Cosby should die in prison. And that's that. But the guy who directed 14 seasons of the Cosby Show and they take it off of syndication, and now he has to go back out as an old man and find work because his whole life was devoted to directing this TV show that the star happened to be a creep. Should he be punished for working for a bad person? I mean, should they pull every Harvey Weinstein movie and all of those actors and all of those crew members and all of those people who depend on that residual check from that movie? Should they suffer because the guy who produced the film, who most of them may never even have met, they have to suffer now? I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe that's the game. I don't know. But it's really hard.
It's gotten it's gone too far. I think.
How many club owners have we done stand up at their clubs, and they're probably awful people.
A number of them.
Yeah. I mean, especially in show business. I mean, people who want to get in the business side of this business that aren't artists, like that just maybe can't produce the art, but so they know they can do the business side. So they want to be, there's a lot of people that are in this business because they know it's easy to take advantage of artists because they'll do their work for free.
Well, because a lot of artists also don't have that other side of their brain that works like the business, that handles the business angle. That's why whenever you watch the VH1 Behind the Musics and you see how these bands got fleeced by a manager, and you're like, how did you not see this coming?
Yeah. And it's those managers know, oh, these guys are willing to pay to play. Mm-hmm. How can I take advantage of that?
Yeah. No, I know it's gotten. Yeah, it is. That's just the way it is, and it's sad the way that it does unfold that way in the in this business, and people don't realize it.
Yeah, there's so many insanely talented comics that I've seen over the years that I go, how are they not getting shots at bigger things? Sometimes you hang out with them and you realize why, but sometimes you just realize like they're really not good at business, and they really just are so focused on creating good art that they don't have the ability to go and schmooze and figure out who's the guy who has a distribution deal and who has a, that they're just like, all I want to do is make really great movies and hopefully somebody will see them. And I feel bad for those people because it's a really tough business.
It's a really tough business. I mean, and you've done a great job, like I said, diversifying your portfolio in terms of writing, doing stand-up, directing and producing. You've got your album, Domestic Nomad. Is that out yet?
So I have, I skipped Domestic Nomad. It's still being recorded. We're waiting for it to come live. And it's all downhill from here. So I have those two albums out. Domestic Nomad should be coming out once COVID opens back up. And then I did it's called Two Guys Comedy. It's me and my buddy Tom. We did a sketch album right during the pandemic, during the quarantine. And it's called If Tom Brady. And it's about this guy from Boston, Gary from Boston, who keeps calling in radio stations to talk about Tom Brady, even though they're not sports talk radio. So he'll call all these other radio shows and want to know why Tom Brady's not being talked about. You're disrespecting Tom Brady. 6'5", 235 pounds of solid masculinity.
Listen, if someone needs a creepy old Jewish guy who's from Quincy, Quincy, Mass, Mark Riccadonna is your guy. So is that release out now?
Yeah.
Yep. And where can people find that? Is that off your web?
You can go to iTunes, anywhere you get streaming or buy your music. It's out there.
And what's it called?
It's called If Tom Brady.
If Tom Brady. And then the other one, it's all downhill from here. That's also available on iTunes.
Yes.
And then Domestic Nomad, once you get vaccinated, you can actually get a copy of Domestic Nomad.
Yes. Well, what's happening with that was it was going to be a travel book and a album that is about all of just travel. And unfortunately, we were about to head down to Florida for a month and record it. And the world shut down. Perfect timing.
Yeah, love it. I don't know anybody that's gone through this year so far and said, you know what? Thank God the pandemic screwed me over because my year was sucking. Everyone that I've talked to had the best 2020 lined up.
They were yes and no. I had a lot of plans, but I have a lot of plans every year. What gets done is a different story. I told my wife I'm the blame for this whole pandemic. Everybody's saying it was a bat in China or it was in a lab. I was on the road for like 2 months straight, and I said, man, I would do anything to spend some time with my family.
You did it.
I fucking jinxed it. I jinxed the whole thing. It's my fault. This is exclusive, Derek.
You are garbage.
I know. Look, separate my art from me, though, please.
Dude, you know I love you. Your podcast, Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. Please download that and listen to it. Richie Byrne is hilarious. Mark is awesome. MarkRiccadonna.com is his website. Radio Gods will be out sometime soon. Follow him on social media. When that gets released, you'll be able to find out about it off of Mark's social media stuff. And one final game of high card. Here we go. Oh, you got a 4. You did well last time, though.
Yeah.
And I got another 3.
Baby, things are coming up, Riccadonna.
3 for 3, huh? There you go. Pandemic's over.
Woo!
You're awesome, buddy. Thanks again, man. I appreciate your time.
Having me.